So, welcome or welcome back. I'm glad you're here today. I'm so happy you made it. Hello. My name is Vix and this is my channel, Goddess of Gore, where I like to talk about horror, thriller, fantasy and sci-fi books. Today I want to tell you about all of the books I read last week in the last full week of August, and rather fittingly I have spent the week getting very cozy indeed. Perhaps too cozy. I'm all cozied out. So if you didn't know, I have spent the month reading not just my commitment reads, the Gaimans, the Pratchetts, the Slaughters, but also a theme of cottagecore, and it absolutely didn't get much more cottagecore than Flowerheart by Karin Bakewell. And let's just give the front cover a round of applause because this is gorgeous. Yejin Park, you did a great job because I imagine a lot of people bought this book for this cover and the synopsis, but well, I don't think I was the only one to feel that this took cottagecore and built a book using everything it could that fitted the aesthetic without actually creating a story. So what it was supposed to deliver was Clara is magical, but the trouble is she's too magical. It's temperamental and therefore dangerous, and she's poisoned her father. Her magic must be honed, so she is sent to her former best friend Xavier to try and rein herself in, and she's working on a timescale because she has to heal her father before it's too late. So it was all of that with lots of flower magic and all the usual bad baddies and the good goodies and saving the day and romance, but there was just something about this book that was trying too hard. I mean, I'm glad I read it, but the characters, even the main characters, lacked any depth. But saying that, maybe if I just wanted it for the magic, then yes, it would have been a bonus to get the rest of the story, because the magic in this book is wonderful and lovely, and to be honest, it was the best part of the book. Then I read the Sweater Weather Book Club pick for last month, Howls Moving Castle by Dianne Wynne Jones. Now, this was much better. This book had sass, it had class. It is a classic for a reason. It follows the story of Sophie Hatter, a young woman who becomes cursed by the Witch of the Waste after giving her a bit of lip one day when she came into Sophie's hat shop, and she got transformed into an elderly woman. Hiding away and wanting rid of the curse, she sets off for the magical wasteland and comes across a moving castle belonging to the enigmatic wizard Howl. Now, Howl has a very bad reputation in the town because they say that Howl eats up the hearts of all the young girls who meets him. But Sophie knows he's a powerful wizard and quite possibly the only person who can get rid of this curse. So she finds a way into the castle and starts making herself useful to Howl as a cleaner in the hopes that he will return the favour and transform her back into her young self again. Howl is of course the grumpy to Sophie's sunshine, but his moodiness puts that sunshine to the test more than once. The other characters in this book are just as wonderful. Obviously my favourite was Calcifer, because who doesn't like a fire demon? This book has everything: adventure, magic, hope, as well as a lot of humour. And honestly, if you don't read Calcifer's parts in Billy Crystal's voice, then I don't even know who you think you are, quite frankly.
Who is she? Who is she? Where did you find her?
And of course, you can always finish off the book with a treat that is the Studio Ghibli film of the same title. Go on, treat yourself. So, staying in the same vein of reading commitments from last month, it was the turn of Faithless, book 5 in the Grant County series by Karin Slaughter. And this was a culty kind of dark thriller following the usual Jeffrey Tolliver, police chief, Sarah Linton, paediatrician and coroner, and Lena Adams, police detective, as they investigate the strange find that Jeffrey and Sarah find in the woods outside Sarah's house. Almost tripping over a air hole that someone had left sticking out of the ground, Geoffrey begins to scrape away the dirt, where he finds a girl dead in a makeshift box in the ground. And yet somehow she was left with enough food and air that she should have survived. So of course, Sarah has to perform an autopsy while the police investigate the murder. That path takes them to a working farm where, for the cost of selling your soul to God, you can live and work on a farm. But something seems off with the so-called church, and it's while they are investigating that Sarah is passed a note that says this wasn't the first death in the name of God. I thought this was a really good penultimate instalment to the whole series, and firmly cemented my dislike for Sarah Linton. I don't know what it is about her, but boy oh boy is she a fickle little creature. So from one little creature to others, with Snow and Rose by Emily Winfield Martin. This was such a wonderful little fairy tale with some adorable illustrations. This was a retelling of the Snow White and Rose Red classic fairy tale. This was another of the cottagecore reads for the month's theme. I really enjoyed this book, and I wish I had little kids to have read this too. I vaguely remember the original story. I must have had it in a collection, but honestly, this version is perfectly wonderful. The setting is stunning and fitted the wild cottage in the wood aesthetic that I was after, and followed the sisters as they travelled through a magical forest after never giving up the hope of finding their missing woodcutter father. They once lived in a huge grand house with staff helping them, but when the money their father made ran out, they could only afford this little tiny cottage in the middle of nowhere. While they continue to search for him, they travel through worlds hidden in the woods, filled with talking animals and an injured, trapped bear who they nurse back to health. Honestly, young or old, I think you'll love it if you're looking for cosy or cottagecore fairy tales. And then, to finish off the week, I devoured The Girl Who Drank the Moon by Kelly Barnhill. Oh my god, I dare you to read this book and not start to fill up at the end. I'm curious, by the way, if you've read it, which team you are on. And yes, Team Fryan all the way. That adorable little big dragon. So this is about a town that has somehow started a myth or legend that they have to give a sacrifice of a baby in the woods to appease a notorious witch, or else they be struck down upon with great vengeance and furious anger.
Great vengeance and furious anger.
And it is done every year without fail. But this year, well, this time the mother isn't going to give up her baby lightly. Obviously, the mother is imprisoned in a tower and the baby is wrenched away from her anyway, and she can rot and slowly go insane. Cut to the woods and the witch is just trotting along, minding her own business, and comes across a baby. Again, she thinks, why do these people keep abandoning their babies every year? Oh well, I better take it if no one else wants it, and I'll find it a loving home. Now usually she gives the baby starlight to drink on the journey back through the woods, but this year, well, the witch accidentally gives the baby moonlight, which means this baby will be magical. She'll have to raise this one herself. And so we start the growing up of Luna. Now, as she grows up, we keep cutting back to the town and her mother, who is being treated so badly. But when a young boy called Antane visits her, he realises something must be done about this sacrifice business, and so sets out to destroy the wicked witch before he has to give up his baby to the witch this year. Honestly, this book was so pure, it was so cozy, that I want everyone to read it. So that's it. That's all of the books I read last week. What did you get up to? Did you read something so good and want to hype it up? Let me know in the comments. But otherwise, thank you so much for being here today. I hope I've encouraged you to add some cosy books to your reading, either for yourself or for somebody else. If I did, maybe you consider giving the video a like, or maybe you want to stick around a little longer and would like to subscribe, if you haven't already, of course. I will leave you, as I always do, with a favourite quote from one of the books I read this week. To find out what a story's really about, the librarian says, you don't ask the writer, you ask the reader. Make some good book choices this week, my friends, and I hope to see you all again soon. Until next time, bye-bye.